Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hypha EDU. Today we're with Kelly Chambers, Doctor of Acupuncture and Herbal Medicine, and we are going to talk Moxa. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Amber. Thanks for having me.
So, Kelly, I'm so curious. What is Moxa?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. Moxa is a short abbreviation for the word Moxabustion. And Moxabustion is actually the burning of a plant called mugwort. And that plant is processed many different ways. It can be dried, just dried. It can be powdered. It can be refined into like a very essential components kind of product. It can even be processed down to a smokeless version. But after it's processed down, then you burn it, and you burn it near or on, depending on what kind of moxa you're practicing, the body, different areas of the body or specific points of the body. And that moxa then sends the heat and the light and the smudge into the system for nourishment. And actually, when you burn mugwort, it has 235 more active constituents than it has before you burn it. So it's actually more medicinal when you burn it, which is why moxibustion is included in the word acupuncture. If you look at the picture of the word acupuncture, it's actually acupuncture and moxabustion. Like that's how important this is in the practice of Chinese medicine.
Oh, that is so interesting. Thank you for sharing. It sounds like a really beneficial treatment. So, I have a follow-up question with that. How does Moxa complement other manual modalities?
Oh, that's a great question. And that's a really relevant question for all kinds of practitioners because most of the manual modalities, we're dealing a lot with stagnation. We're moving places that are tight. We're digging into ropey sections. We're dissipating accumulation. We're actually like working on different layers or levels of stagnation. And that's included in PT and massage and chiropractic and all the kind of manual modalities. Most of them, there's a large focus on stagnation. But the wonderful thing is Moxa can address the deficiencies that we find. The deficiency in energy, the deficiency in strength, the deficiency that's around weakness, the deficiency of vitality, and like all these places where we locate deficiency, or it could be cold. And like actually, someone's energy being cold is a sign of deficiency as well. And so, all these places where we find deficiency, we can address this with Moxa. And not only that, but often with your complex patients, and actually any adult really, adult human is actually dealing with stagnation and deficiency. And if you really look at the body from a balance perspective, then the fact that there is stagnation indicates that there's deficiency somewhere else. And so when we include Moxa in our practice, we can address these deficiencies. And but not only that, Moxa just happens to be the most balanced herb in the materia medica. So mugwort actually is balanced almost perfectly between yin and yang. So it can be warming and moving, and it can also be nourishing and tonifying. So it can add to the system, and it can also regulate the system. So it's extremely balanced already. So not only can we bring this nourishment to deficiencies that we find that'll complement our work with the stagnation, but also we're adding to the balance of things when we're working with Moxa.
Oh my goodness, this sounds so interesting. I really appreciate all this information, Kelly. So, curious then, is there a good time seasonally that someone should be receiving Moxa?
Yeah, great question. I love this. And typically we might think, "Oh, we're burning something." And so there's heat involved and light involved and this smudge involved. And so we might think, oh, that'll be good for fall and winter. And that's really true. It is actually incredibly beneficial in the fall and winter. In those seasons, the cold is kind of can get really heavy, especially in the winter. And having this warmth that penetrates internally and kind of warms you up from the inside is very beneficial. But we don't often think of using Moxa in the summer. But actually, the summer is the fire season. And so, actually, for people who do have issues with cold or they have deficiencies that come on stronger in the fall and the winter, or they're cold averse, or they tend to always have cold hands and cold feet, or they want to wear a sweater in the summer anyways, then actually the summertime is the best time to start with Moxa, and particularly right after the solstice. So why would that be? Because summer is the fire season. So now we have the natural element that supports the element we're using for tonification. We're burning the Moxa. It's the earth season as well because we're in like the abundance of growth and harvest and all of that in the summer. And so the plant actually then also helps support. So we're at this time when we can use the natural world to help support the nourishment that we're bringing through this fire and this plant. And that seasonally then is going to allow you to work with it all through the whole winter. So now you have multiple months that you're working with it, and that nourishment can be consistent, consistent, consistent. So by the time you get to winter, you don't need it as much. You're already vitalized, and you've already given yourself all this extra energy and nourishment that you needed for the winter. So actually the summer, right after the solstice, is a great time to start utilizing Moxabustion, and particularly for anyone who's experiencing some deficiency or lack of balance.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge with us. It sounds like an extremely beneficial treatment. What if someone wanted to learn a little bit more information about Moxabustion?
Yes, that's great. So at Hypha EDU, we actually have a simple introductory class to Moxa. And in that class, we show you all the different types of Moxa that you could utilize. We show you some very simple techniques that you can start with. We show you some places that you can place Moxa on the body to be working with. And it's just a very short 2-hour and very economically friendly introductory class. And I would say any healing practitioner could utilize this modality right after taking the class. So I highly recommend that as a place to start. It's just a simple introduction to Moxabustion at Hypha EDU. And then if you find that you're like, you practice it some and you're like really digging Moxa and you want to learn more about Moxa, then I would highly recommend that you visit Traditional Japanese Medicine Seminars of Portland. And I believe it's PDX TJM, Traditional Chinese Medicine Seminars online. But there's one of their professors that they bring in for Moxa, Junji Mitsutani, which is a Japanese elder who's been practicing Moxa forever, and those classes are amazing. So I highly recommend that as an addition to your introductory class at Hypha EDU.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much, Kelly, for taking the time to talk with us today. Really looking forward to checking out a little bit more and learning more about Moxabustion. And thanks for sharing your expertise with us. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having me, Amber. Take care, everyone.